Mayor Mamdani is facing pushback from supporters and critics alike after pitching what the mayor called a last resort option to balance the city's budget by raising property taxes. The mayor's critics say that he is reversing a campaign promise to make the boroughs more affordable. But City Hall maintains that a tax hike is not guaranteed and would only happen if Governor Hochul and the legislature refused to raise taxes on corporations and the wealthiest earners in order to close the city's budget gap. Here to talk about that and much more is the public advocate of the city of New York, Jumaane Williams. Good evening. Welcome back to the program. Always good to see you.
Good evening. Always a pleasure. Thanks. Good to be here.
Governor Hochul says that a tax increase is not going to happen. The city council speaker and various members of the council all say a property tax increase is a, quote, non-starter. Where does that leave the mayor? What kind of options does he have?
So, one, I just want to make sure we put this in perspective. There is a gap here that everyone agrees. It's a very, very large gap because of the accounting or non-accounting from the last term. And when that happens, somebody's going to pay. And the question is who and where. And so the options are very slim. I hope that the council and others can work together. I'd love to be a part of that to try to find some efficiencies in government. We have to do that. I have a feeling there still may be a gap. And the options that the city can do are either cut services to the bone, raise property taxes, or some of the options is either raise revenue or cut. And when you cut services and benefits, somebody pays. And so they try to talk about it like nobody's going to pay if we don't raise tax on the wealthy, but they will. So I think folks should be angry about what was proposed. I always want to make sure people are angry at the right people. And I believe folks should be angry at Kathy Hochul, who has said that she won't even entertain taxing the wealthy. And when she talks about it, she speaks as if taxing the wealthy means taxing everybody. And it just doesn't. And so the choice is, are we going to raise revenue from the 33,000 wealthiest folks in New York, or are we going to raise the revenue or cut services from everybody else? And that's really what we're boiling down to.
Part of what the governor has said is also, even if I gave you a tax increase, what would you use it for? The idea being that if you bring her a proposal like universal child care, she might be able to sort of write a check or find the money from some other source without resorting to new revenue, right?
So I think that's a fair question. I get worried when people say that we're not even going to entertain this, because we might need to. But quite frankly, if there's a gap that exists, it's a little over $5 billion, and the governor says, here's $5 billion, it's all gravy. It's good. That makes sense. We also know that the city pays more to Albany than we get back. Now, the state is a creature. We're a creature of the creature, so sometimes it's going to happen. It's hard to continue to maintain that when there's such a large gap. And so what we're saying is you have to provide more tools to us. And so the tools that we have are very painful, and they're going to hurt somebody. The taxes, as you know better than a lot of folks, the property tax system now is inequitable. It hurts black and brown homeowners. And we can't allow this type of tax hike to occur when people are losing their homes through deed theft and foreclosure. So we need Governor Hochul to open up the toolbox so we can look at some more tools.
The controller, Mark Levine, says that the city is facing multiple expenses that need to be controlled. That whether there's a tax increase, whether there's not a tax increase, there are some programs. City FEPS is one he mentioned. The Carter cases that pay money for special education. The amount paid out in claims every year for police misconduct, medical malpractice in the city hospitals, and other kind of expenses are expenses that are increasing so quickly, we'll never be able to catch up, and we'll have a deficit year after year.
So one, we definitely have to make government more efficient. We do have to look at some of these programs. City FEPS gets a little wonky, but it is increasing at a rate that we should have accounted for and did not. What we want to make sure we're doing is we're looking at these programs, but not cutting the services that are needed, because it is much more expensive to have someone in a shelter versus at home. It's much more expensive to provide some kind of preventative care than to have someone in a hospital. And so we just want to make sure that we're not penny wise and pound foolish. But we do have to look at these efficiencies. We have to look at everything. And my point is, we just need the governor to say, here are some more tools. Because everyone who's furious is correct. Trying to balance this on the back of black and brown homeowners in particular. And I'm someone who helped sue to try to reform these tax reforms, and the then mayor actually booted us out of court. But we've been working on this for a very long time. We've also been talking about revenue raises for a very long time. There's a whole host of revenue raises that we can look forward to. But we need a governor that's willing to do that and stop pretending that the ones that we're pointing out are going to hurt everybody, because it's just not a true statement.
We're only a couple of months into this new administration. At the inauguration, you said that you'd spent most of your career pushing back on city policies, and you were looking forward to having a chance to finally push forward. Is that happening as far as you're concerned?
I think so. I think with this administration, you have an administration that believes in the things that I've been pushing for a long time. I thought we had that with the prior administration, and we didn't. So, the mayor has been talking about things that I believe in since he was at 1%. So he didn't change because it became popular. He kind of helped push the change. So that looks a lot different, even if there's probably at some point going to be pushback, there's going to be tension. It's different when you're working with a mayor who actually believes a thing and wants to accomplish it. And I know governing is hard, and so I'll be very happy to continue to push forward with someone who believes the things that I do as well.
The mayor signed an executive order creating what are called rental rip-off hearings. Those are going to happen in the next couple of weeks, where people can complain about problems they have with their landlords. And I thought about you immediately, because every year you put out a worst landlords list, and at the top of the list every year is the New York City Housing Authority. Should the mayor maybe focus on that?
And so I was a little perturbed when I heard the news that NYCHA was not going to be, invited. So I actually made a phone call to find out what's going on. It turns out the administration said that the focus is on HPD policy, which doesn't control NYCHA. However, NYCHA residents are still invited, and there will be NYCHA representatives available. So folks will be invited. And yes, we do have to spend some time on NYCHA and making sure that they get the funding they need and is managed more correctly. Unfortunately, our HPD policies don't control NYCHA.
Okay, we're going to leave it there for now. Thank you so much for coming by. Great talking with you. And we'll as we get closer to the budget, I hope we can chat again.
Absolutely.
All right.